name is Jeremy. I feel weird being up here because most of the stuff that I see you guys make makes me feel very humble. I've been turning since 2012 when I had a teacher who asked me to come over to their house and turn something. That was Sue. And then later she's like, oh, do you want this lathe? Sure. So that actually kind of became my main source of income. And so Sue's super awesome all the time. And she feels embarrassed when people talk about her and tell her how awesome she is. But all of you already know she's just the best. So the main thing that I turn is wine bottle stoppers. I had a small lathe, and it was a small thing, and it made more money than other stuff that I made. So it just seemed to be the thing that I kept doing. I started with 3 carbide pen tools from Rockler, a round one, a square one, and, you know, the diamond shape. I did everything with that for the first 3 years. I hadn't touched a conventional or a, chisel, older tool until 2 or 3 years ago. Everything I did was carbide. So I turned wood, but I also turn a lot of acrylic, which a lot of you don't do. So here's just a piece. One of them's, finished, and one of them's what it starts as. So that's actually called, making words.
Yellow jacket. You don't have a cable, right?
I know, I was just looking for words. So that one is called acrylic acetate. That's the kind of acrylic that is. I think it's just a name, but I'm not sure. And then one of the other ones. No, they make it just for this. I don't know what it is though. So then the other kind. What? Got it. So. This is awkward. Okay, so this is the other kind, which is called Inlace Acrylester. So this is, they have different consistencies when you turn them. The first one that's yellow is a little more forgiving and less brittle. The second one, they're super brittle. And I didn't know that until I shoved a tool into it and it broke and it hurt a lot. So the other thing about acrylics is you don't want to turn them with tools that aren't negative rake. So a negative rake tool, it's okay, I'm good. Okay, so this is a negative rake carbide tool. You can see that it's flat, but it also has this little angle on it, which means that the cutting edge is below the flat surface on top. I don't know what to call it. But it basically makes it way less aggressive. So if you stick it into acrylic, it doesn't shatter and turn into shrapnel and give you lots of tiny cuts on your hands. So the main thing that I use are different tools like that. So that one was round. This one's radius square, but still it's got that negative rake, so it doesn't make them want to explode. So I have that negative rake on most of the tools that I use, all the different, so these are easy wood cutters that I put on way cheaper handles because I didn't have easy wood tool handles at the time. So these are shine stand handles that I just put that cutter on. So I'm going to turn a wood one because it's fast and easy and it doesn't affect anybody's respiratory problems as much. So I'll go through what I do and how I do it, and if you guys have any questions, feel free. I'm totally open to that. This is an olive blank that Wells gave me a couple days ago, and it's just a square, or whatever you call a square. it's going to be a spindle. But so it's rough on both sides. Ah, this is so confusing.
Right on top. Over the chuck. Over the chuck.
Okay, so it's rough on both sides. And so at home, I have everything set up to use a drill press, and I actually tap everything after that. But I'm going to do it all here so you can see that you can. The first thing that you want to do, or that I do, is square it off, which is, the truth with pretty much everything having to do with turning.
Jack square stuff and make it right.
So when you do this, I actually kind of make it more of a cone, just really small, so the drill bit basically self-centers, Oh, it's this thing singing. Maybe. So, not that you all can see the side. Okay. Oh yeah, so there's a little dimple that I just put in there with the corner. So I have my drill bit, and I don't remember what size it is, and I don't take it out of this, so I can't tell you. But new lathes are always interesting. So you don't need to drill at 3,000 RPMs. So I'm just going to hold this button down for a minute. There's not much to this other than once you have a system down, it makes it way easier. You guys can pass this around too. This is actually made out of the two-part stuff. Illuminate. This is made out of aluminum. Yes, sir. I can. So this is made out of aluminite. There's a guy who I had make these for me, and then he stopped, and so I'm figuring out how to do it myself. But they look like space after you turn them. They're pretty cool. And that stuff, out of all the acrylic type things, turns the best. It's smooth, it's buttery, but it does make powder that wants to kill you. So, well, all of them do, really. So, drilling, it's just the same as, if you drill anything really. Go in, come back out. Go in further, come back out. Just to clear some of the chips out of the way. And I've done this enough times, I just kind of know how deep it has to go. I used to have a Sharpie mark on the drill bit, but it goes away really fast. So that's that one. That's it. Okay, so that bar. Then I have in another, come on, Jacob's truck, I have the tap that I use, which is the same for just about everything in small projects that you tap. So with this, I only turn hardwoods if I'm turning something that's softer or something that I don't trust all the way. I don't use threaded inserts because they cost more money. And I glue them together at the end anyway because you don't need to wash them, really, unless you mess up. So I tap the wood. Sometimes I'll tap it and then put thin CA glue in it, let it dry, and then tap it again so it reinforces the threads. But to tap it, I just do it by hand, go back out, let it clear itself, do it again. This spins much nicer than mine. easily. Go back out again. And just do it till you're all the way in. No, my lathe is fine. I don't have space for a big lathe anyway.
Do you use a special tap?
It's just a tap that I got from
3816.
Craft Supply or somewhere.
Yeah, I believe.
I think it's 3/8.
3816.
Yeah. This actually doesn't tap well. Yeah, it tapped really horribly, so we're not going to use that one. Try again. Back. Here, I'll use this, which is already tapped. So this is engineered wood, but it's basically, it's still wood. It's tapped, I tapped it the same way, but taps are good. Backups. Backups. Sure. Backups always come in handy. So don't leave this in when you turn because it hurts. So I use this, which is not actually, whoa, that is super crooked. You guys see that walking?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, so you're going to demonstrate turning an oval.
Yep. Anyway, so this is actually a ring mandrel. It comes like this. You put these spacers on it and you can make rings, which I don't. But the thing that you normally get for turning bottle stoppers is about this long. And so once you put it into a chuck or a Jacob's chuck, you have this much space to work with between that and the headstock. Yeah, I don't.
Just for the other really cheap people in the crowd, you can make your own handle just by putting a piece of wood chuck in a hole in it, putting a bolt through it. It's the right thread. Cut it off to whatever length you want.
You absolutely can. But that was before I could think that way. So I use this. It's straight at my house, but so you basically just thread your thing back on. I don't use a tailstock for support because it's so small you don't really need to. You should always use the tailstock. It's much more safe.
We're all about safe in this club.
Yeah, and we're moving on. So, to shape things is incredibly quick and fast. Yeah, that's daily. So this is a carbide cutter that is not negative rake. It's just, I think it's actually a hollower, but I just use it because it's tiny and it gets me tinier things. I have negative rake versions of this, but I just haven't used them for anything yet.
Okay, never move your toe or else on the last one.
Is that actually a rule? I never got a safety course in this. I was given a lathe by someone and then just basically given free for all. So
Well, then it's that person who's the one that gave you the leg.
that's what I'm saying. I can't be blamed for any of this. So you don't really have to do much to make it a pleasing shape. Also, if the fancier the wood or the fancier the material you're using, the less fancy shape you really need, which is true with everything. Let's go back. Well, let's turn.
Jeremy, what speed are you turning at there?
Right now I'm at about 3,000. Usually I just go as fast as the lathe can, because it's tiny and it doesn't really. Yeah, it's a spindle and it's this big, so it's not like the edge of the bowl is gonna cleave me in two. And it's pretty on there. I mean, not this. Yeah, this is oblong now, but you know. Then I just take it down to 1,000 and I sand it. Usually I only sand 3 times. I use. This is pretty smooth already, just from the way it was cut. So I put 120, 220, and 320 on it, and then from there I use either a friction polish, or I am a woodworker too, so I have many of these, so that's what I use. You don't want to sand at 3,000, but I have to hold this button down. For a minute.
There's 5 different.
That's fine. So yeah, I just. By the way, you should always wear breathing protection as well.
What RPM are you standing at then?
This is 120.
No. How?
It's a little over 1,000. So this buttons. So this bearing here is about the base size of the bottle stopper that you would screw into it. I'm gonna have to take this home and fix it because it's not quite straight anymore. But that's fine. So I sand when it's moving, basically get it to where you can't feel any big ridges anymore. Then I'll turn it off and I go the other way to get rid of the sand lines. This is the same with acrylic and wood for me, at least. And once they're mostly gone, you know, because I feel like you guys do a way better job at getting all your sand lines out of things. They don't always come out of mine, and I'm usually okay with it.
What's your signature face?
Sure. Well, and everything I'm doing is so small. The things that you guys are doing are huge, and so it's like, oh, I can see those lines. And for me, it's like, oh, people can't see anyway, so they really can't see my tiny lines. So that was 120, and then this is a fast process. For me, when I do this, I batch everything out. So I'll rough turn 50, put them over there, then I'll sand all of them, then I'll finish all of them. But I do them in, you know, I don't do wood and acrylic at the same time. I do one and then I do the other. So this is 320, and usually that gets it to a point where I can put something on it, and it's not, it's like just enough.
Why do you split up the turning and sanding? Does that mean you have to take it out and put it back on?
I have a couple things. Well, for me, it's just a different brain. So I have really bad ADHD. And when I'm turning, I want to turn stuff. So I turn all of it. And mine are centered right. So when I put them back on, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just thinking of the extra time compared to picking up these.
right. So it's not that much time for me. Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, I mean, sorry, John, but all my appendages still work pretty well. You know? So I use, So I use this stuff a lot, which is like scratch free. Go up high. So I use this, or yeah, we'll go that way. So scratch free, and then Micro Magic's the same stuff, it just has different. So it's kind of like a waxy friction polish.
That's guaranteed, so price free. Guaranteed to remove all scratches.
Probably not, but you know, probably helps.
Where'd you get it?
I think I got this stuff at Craft Supply.
Sergeant skirt here.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good job of hiding scratches.
What is that?
It's mineral spirits. And I just use it as a cleaner, like dipping.
What do you get, what part of your stock?
I get those. There are many places that sell them.
Oh,
They all sell them for different prices. I pretty much shop around until I find the best one that I can at the time. Craft Supply used to be really good, but they've been out of a lot of stuff lately. Also, there are tall bottle stopper bases and what they call mini bottle stopper bases. From my experience, there are people who drink wine and want bottle stoppers for it. Then there are people who like bottle stoppers because they're pretty. People who drink wine, for me, a lot of them tend to be women, and they tend to drink white wine. So they want to be able to put the bottle stopper in the bottle and fit the bottle in the fridge, which you can't do with a tall stopper. So sometimes they make little shorties, sometimes they're a little bit taller. Like this is a taller one for me. I don't usually make them, you know, I usually make them shorter than this because then all the women who drink white wine are happy. And that seems to be a large population where we are.
as a product marketer, you make me proud.
So I pre-cut blue towels at home, and this is basically just wax. So I just scoop some out, and I spin it by hand first, so just get it coated. And then I turn it on, and usually I turn it back up to speed, but that takes a long time on this. But so I just let it spin and push. So you can see that it's shiny now when it really wasn't before. There's all this gross crap, which is a lot of the, so that's just one. So this is what I call the base of those three different levels, but it already feels nice. So I'm not going to turn any acrylic because it'll poison us all. But I have a blank that I already did, which I'm just gonna, I think I'm gonna make one cut on it, and then I'm gonna take it from this to shiny with micro mesh. Micro mesh is this sandpapery stuff that's tiny, and it's wet sanding, and it basically takes something from, I think it starts at 1,300 and goes to 12,000 or something in there. Hmm? This one, mine's 12. So this little thing I 3D printed because, well, so I used to keep my, here, let's go this way. So I used to keep my micro mesh in a really gross Tupperware container and not know which was the next in order, which is why there's these dots on the edges. But then I was like, I know something exists. And so I found this basin and printed it, but it basically each one has their own little holder, and each of these is an incline, so that drains back into the basin. So they're like, yeah, it's much easier. I printed another one, and it's in the raffle today. So, hey, there are drawing not raffle tickets.
Did you make a cover for it?
Huh?
Did you make a cover for it?
No, I didn't make a cover. I like it when they dry out because I've had the mold before, so I like it when there's air. Yeah. So I'm going to take a quick cut on that to clean up one edge, or to see what it does on this lathe, I guess. I'm not going to take any cuts. I'm just going to polish it because that's not happening.
It's not round.
Yeah, it was before. So since this is mostly wet sanding, it's always nice to cover up stuff. And you get covered in stuff as well. So ergo the face. So I'm gonna just, we'll see what it looks like since it's not balanced anymore. But this stuff smells, and you shouldn't breathe it, which is why I didn't want to sand it or shape it here. Wet sanding's different because most of the dust goes into the wall. So let's just go. So I told you I have ADHD and I can't keep things in order. So usually what I do is I'll pull one out. I'll drop the next one in the bin so I know what I'm doing next. So when I wet sand, for me, I like to see water in between right here. Like there's a little bit building up. And if there's not any there, I know it's too dry. And if it's too dry, it destroys the micromesh. So I basically do this the same way as I do normal sandpaper. Then I go the other way. So this is the slightly tedious part of acrylics. But I don't put any finish on anything. I just do this. So I don't have to worry about refinishing something. There's no finish. It's just sanded till it's shiny and clear, basically. But so that you can see the water right in there, and so I know it's not too dry. I do finish the wood. Sometimes I'll use the scratch free on this, but it's wax, so it just comes off anyway. But I use it to get rid of the smaller scratches, but then it just goes away. So with wood, sometimes I'll use spray lacquer, sometimes I'll use the wax that I put on that one. I don't know. I like quick finishing things. So also I'm not patient, ADHD. So the wax, all I have to do is put it on 3 times and then it looks good and it feels good.
Do you use face polish at all? Like
I don't have any. I would. If I had some, I probably would. But I feel like the wax is kind of like that, except it doesn't set. It's not like deep penetrating or anything. It just gets warm and then makes things look better. So, I've done 3 of these 9 grits and it already, you can already kind of see that it's looking better than it started as. And you don't have to do this much. I probably overdo it. But that's probably more than enough for that. So right now this is only spinning at 1300. But I haven't noticed much of a difference between speeds. Sometimes I just leave it fast. And it still seems to work fine for me. So there's not much to it, it's just, you know, repetitive. And I'm gonna say that's all of them and lie about it. So it's shiny. Now, you can see, like there was one edge on this that wasn't even round yet, but the rest you can see that it has a shine, it looks, you can see through it. I always like the ones that you can see through, that you can see the threads on. To me, that's interesting. Some people probably don't like it, but I'm not them. I also have this stuff that I use, which is like plastic polish. How's that? There we go. Plastique, so like plastique, but plastique is an explosive. It's just.
The other one that worked well with wires. Really good.
I had this one, Larry.
What?
So this is the same. I use this the same as the wax. I basically just go on, and then put some, you know, give it some friction. And now it's shiny. So acrylics are different. They're brittle. Never stick a tool as fast into acrylic as you would stick a tool into wood, because it'll make you pay for it. The first time I turned the more brittle of the two, which is the interlaced one, I just didn't know. And I had a chunk on here that was that big, and I stuck a diamond tool into the middle, and it shattered, and it punched me in the chest, and then stuck into the ceiling. So it doesn't feel good. Also, when you turn acrylics, it feels like there's shrapnel hitting your hands. Yeah, I can feel like little pieces of glass. But once you actually figure out the best ways to do it, it doesn't do that as much. As long as you're not being overly aggressive, it doesn't really do that. One thing that I do that is nice to know, so a lot of the blanks that I get start as squares, and it's much nicer to start with round, as everything isn't turning. But when you're turning a spindle that's acrylic into a cylinder, I usually, instead of like, you know how you push and get everything flat, I usually pull away from me with a corner like this. So I'll put this into the outside, into the like top, front, whatever, and pull this way to get it round, as opposed to going in and in and in and in. Because pulling it that way, not only does it shoot everything away from me, but it's cleaner, it's faster, and it's just less mean, really. Pushing it in every time, it just wants to tear and break and shatter and spray you. I don't know if there's much more to say unless you guys have questions.
I want to show some of your finishes.
Well, I have a bunch. Wells likes my carrying case, so he told me to bring it with me. It's not really a bag. It's like luggage. So I used to, so this all started with just this piece because it carries vertically. There's a camera over there, right? Yeah. So this just carries like this. And the thing I had before carried and turned everything, so it was kind of annoying. But this is like, to me it looks like a tackle box already. So it opens up. But so this is one of the interlace ones. We call the color peacock.
How much?
Huh?
How much?
How much what?
What you sell?
So I sell the acrylics for $40 and I sell the wood for $35, and nobody really complains.
How much you pay for excess.
So the bases that I use usually range between $7.50 and $5. All the ones that I've used so far are stainless steel, because if you actually put it in lime, the ones that aren't stainless steel corrode and get gross. But apparently some people don't put them in lime, and they don't want to pay that much for them, so that's why the other ones exist. The chrome-plated ones that cost $3 a piece. So I'll probably get those soon and sell those. I'll tell people that these, I mean, they still work in wine, they just get gross over time. And to me, that's not the idea. So here's another piece of that engineered wood that I just, like the red stuff I just did, which is, it's basically just dyed plywood. Huh? I don't know. I found a lot of it on eBay, and from someone's.
Spectre Ply sells that stuff.
Okay. Like here's that green. Can I steal the camera and put it over here? Or do you want to do it? Because that makes it, you know. I ruined everything. Always. Other way. Mm-hmm. So, you know, this is that space looking stuff.
Put your hand behind it if you want to focus on it. Yeah.
It's like,
Then put it in your hand. There you go.
and move my hand to Kevin's head. Yeah, so it's like, I still don't quite understand, but it's Alumilite mixed with other stuff that makes fancy, pretty things. But I don't know. I turned little pieces, so all the stuff that you guys throw away, I grab and turn into this stuff. And I also make cutting boards a lot, so I have offcuts of cutting boards that I then turn into other things.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I was a woodworker first. And then these aren't done, but this is curly monkey pod, which I just thought was super cool. But yeah, this is where most of my money comes from. Is people that drink wine. Because most people that drink wine and think they're fancy have fancy money. So yeah.
Show your top one again, because it shows where people can look down onto the piece.
The top of what?
The top
Case.
case.
Oh. So it's just, you know, it's basically like a pack out that's Home Depot made it. So it's just, it's basically for screws, so you can keep them organized. But it all locks together. I actually have a piece of it that I left at home because it had nothing to do with this. But I also started making somewhere. So beer pulls, beer taps. Same threads. I am going to use threaded inserts in these because people take them on and off to change them or to clean them. But this is just Purple Heart that I burned to make it look better and to keep its color. Yeah. So these are some of the bases that I just got from a company that I didn't know existed before, which is just called stainless steel bottle stopper. But these ended up being 5 1/4 a piece. I bought 50 of them or so, and I got 3 different styles. Never buy stopper bases or anything from Rockler or Woodcraft because they don't give you a discount if you buy more of them. So
What
it's
about root tiles?
so I have some of the Niles ones.
Did she give you a discount on them?
They're not as good, and these ones. So this is the Niles one, and it costs.
Different style.
Right, this is one of them. This is the most common one that you see places other than their website. But this one cost $7.45 a piece, whereas the ones that I just showed you were 5 1/4. And the discounts on this ones aren't as good.
Okay.
Yeah, so does some of the other ones. Yeah, so I've also buying, acrylics and things. They vary in price depending on where you get them. Woodcraft is usually $18 for a 1.5 inch square by 6 inches. So I cut that into 3, so it's $6 a blank, and then another $5 for the hardware. So it ends up being 11 or 12 bucks, and then I sell them for 40.
When you sell the slabs, because you can sell the little thing for the ones that don't stand up.
To stand in it and sell them. I haven't. I could. Drilling holes is something I am incredibly good at.
So your display stand that you perhaps show, have you ever thought of making smaller ones and bundle them? So buy the whole kit and 4 stands or 5 stands to show up in the door?
No, that's a good idea. No, I haven't done that.
That's how fancy money, they want to show off their fancy box.
I always figured people would put them in a drawer or put them in line. So,
But they got that fancy fridge and stuff.
You can turn wooden wine bottles.
you told me that a year ago.
Exactly.
Right, as a display. Yes, sir.
Can you comment, show a couple of different styles of hardware, and maybe comment on what are the benefits, or which ones tend to be most popular?
Sure.
The ones that stand up, the pointy ones.
So, what I was saying between large and small. Come back. So, these are the same shape of, base, but this one's large and the other one's what's considered mini. These can't stand in a fridge. These mostly can. So these are it's like a baffled rubber piece. So it goes in and it pushes up and it seals your thing, as opposed to the other ones that I was showing you where they're O-rings. And so they're slightly different. Everybody has their own different preferences.
So, I tested 130.
Yeah.
My bottle stopper.
Yeah.
Same stuff. I put the bottle on cycling.
Yeah.
I just never had one leak yet.
On these, on the O-rings.
On the O-rings.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that would work with these as well.
Big ones, little ones, they all seem to work.
Nice.
They all have the same thread, right?
Yes,
So
they're all the same.
It could still be super expensive custom version.
Well, I would disagree. There are some that have a different thread.
But you could just have a box full of.
Oh, and let them pick their bottom.
A box full of tops, and
Right.
people can make their own combination and pay an extra $20 for the business.
Except you put them in.
I do glue them in. So,
Okay, super glue right there and then.
yep. So, honestly, I just bought a variety. So, these are all from Craft Supply, but they don't have them anymore. I feel like they're completely empty. But when I bought them from Craft Supply, I usually would buy 100 or so at a time. And so I got it down to just over $5 or just under. And they're stainless, so they're heavier and they last as opposed to not lasting. Some people like the ones that stand up.
Not lasting means resale.
Long lasting means that they don't pit and turn gross. And
That they're locked forever, you don't sell them out. Planned obsolescence.
I mean, so honestly, the bases are just preference of the person getting it.
Do you
So-
ever carve the top?
A what?
Do you carve the top into anything particular?
No.
Or write something name on it? Or
No. I don't like people. I wouldn't write their name on it.
But you could do it, so, when it's at $20, I'll write the date and then date.
No, that's a terrible idea.
You guys have Mary.
That to me sounds like more work than actually turning the thing. And yeah, no, I wouldn't do it. But if they asked me that, not on the spot, if that was like someone that bought something else and they were like, hey, can you do this? Sure, I'll do that when I don't have to look at you. And I can do it at home when you're not staring at me, watching me try and write your name wrong.
Yeah, you could charge a lot of money if this was like a wedding thing.
Right.
And this is the date of your wedding. And they use it for the box and everything.
Well, actually, what you want to be,
Yeah,
to be, to get back so that, the husband gets all that money
Yes.
with the
If I had a CNC, I would absolutely do that and make it really fast. Hey Sue, this is Osage Orange too.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty.
Beautiful. You never
It turns
see
nicely.
all times.
Anybody else? Anything?
Where do you primarily sell it?
I sell at craft fairs. Word of mouth. Basically, I started making stuff, and my wife's like, "Oh, you're going to sell these?" And I was like, "What? No, I'm not." She's like, "No, you are." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So she kind of. I am not a person who sells things. I don't want to sell things to people. I love giving stuff to people, but then I lose money apparently. So.
Are you
You lose
listening,
too
Bill?
much money.
Right. So it kind of just went from there because I made someone a cutting board once, and then my wife's like, "Oh, you're selling these now." I'm like, "Okay." Then I need so many more tools, and she was like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "You said it." So
They look at shoes, you can buy it.
right. She also though doesn't buy anything ever other than she buys art. I buy T-shirts, and she's like, "You should stop buying T-shirts." I'm like, "You just bought art. I don't think those measure up." Anyway,
I have one question.
what's up, Susie?
I know you make tie-dye shirts. Is
Yes.
this what you make?
Yeah. So that's one of the other things that I do because my son wanted to make tie-dye when he was 7, and we bought one of those kits and tried it, and it looked horrible, and I was really upset because I'd seen how cool tie-dyes can be, and I kind of, ADHD, you have a lot of interests. So I took a deep dive into that one, and now I can make shirts that are pretty awesome. This is just one when I was using up what was left over in all my dye. And then they turn into work shirts for me. Like this one also has paint on it from when I painted a closet. And also, yeah, Pizza My Heart shirts, they're the best things to get to tie-dye because they cost like $1. And you get pizza. Anybody else?
I find it for demos, the cool thing to do with wall stoppers is to start with a really rough sawn piece of wood.
Right.
That you have pre-built and everything, so you don't feel any of that. You have to really rough you show that.
Right.
You stick it on, you never stop it until you've got the final fixing parts.
Right. I did that with the kid.
Yeah. So
The kid at the thing downtown. I let him pick what piece of wood he wanted, and then I let him pick what shape he wanted, and we just kind of went through it. And then at the end, I gave it to him, and he was happier than anybody I've made that happy in years. So but he was like 5, and Wells was like, "I did all this stuff. I didn't do anything. That kid was the one who was doing everything and making me look incredible."
He succeeded.
and then he told you to go sell them.
That kid? No, I just gave the kid the one that I turned while he was standing there.